Hello, everybody. Bsquiklehausen here, and welcome to the second episode, the first on my channel, of FBS International Airport. I'm here today with FlexTrans and Stricktoaster.
Hello.
Hello. Did we ever specify what FBS stand for, even though it's pretty obvious?
I don't think we did.
I hope people would understand. But anyway, that would be FlexTrans, Bsquiklehausen, Stricktoaster.
Oh, really? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it seems like we had a lot of, we just kept misnaming it for some reason. For a while, I think all of our Google Drives had, different orders. It was, FBS, then it was, BFS or something.
Yeah, I remember. I thought it was BFS for a long time.
Yeah.
I was at least hoping it was BFS for a long time.
There was some confusion, for sure, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In case you guys don't know, BFS is the order of our episodes, too. Oh, geez. FBS is the order of our episodes.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
Of course. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I feel like it's probably about time to start talking about what we're building in Cities Skylines today. So going off of the save that I got from FlexTrans, I've had a mission of doing the terminals, which was a little daunting and a little scary. But right now I'm just kind of starting out by quickly drawing out kind of where the actual terminal entrances will be, or at least where I thought they'd be. So replacing them, kind of tweaking everything, and adding the kind of arrivals, departures, double-decker thing, which we talked at length about last episode.
Right.
Try to figure out which one was which. Anyway, so I kind of go here, and it was an interesting set of highways coming in. I split them underground to be able to give kind of a wider entry and exit point, I guess, and trying to curl stuff into these terminals, which would be very nearby. It's very dense. I spent a lot of time looking at airports that are maybe less really kind of carefully planned and singularly planned.
Are we talking about a JFK here?
Talking about JFK, aren't we?
We're talking a lot about JFK here.
Yeah.
But some other ones. So there are parts of Newark Airport. I was in New York when I was looking at this and building this, so I was basing it off of those. And I know that other points of inspiration, like SFO, which this first terminal you're seeing with this big curve is a lot like the SFO terminal area. But I kind of wanted it to feel a lot like JFK, just because I think that there are a lot of interesting and different build styles. And I thought that we could each give them a crack. And especially when it comes to detailing, having different people's detailings be all over different parts of this would probably be a good idea. So
Right.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going in. I was about to say, I'm a little embarrassed that you're watching this, Flux, watching me screw around with all these highways.
No.
After doing your episode last time.
No, to be honest, I really, really liked the design of your infrastructure. I really liked this giant loop that you did at the beginning, and I really liked the way that it all split off there at the end of the loop. You haven't really finished it yet, but the part that kind of goes straight over the main highway that goes to the later terminals, I think that was a really cool little kind of design that you had. And the tricky thing was, and we mentioned it last episode too, but after Green Cities, it kind of did mess up some of the junctions. And luckily for you, I mean, it really didn't actually do much to yours, I don't think, because you only had a few ground junctions.
This one was post Green Cities, right? Because the first episode was before.
It might,
if I'm not mistaken.
I honestly can't remember, because it's been a while since I recorded this.
Right. It might have been post Green Cities, because that might have been why there weren't any real issues with this one. It seemed like, I mean, for one, it didn't really seem to affect any above or elevated junctions, just the ones that were on the ground, and there weren't a whole lot of ground junctions. But also it was mostly good anyway. It didn't seem to have too many issues, so maybe it was actually post.
For those that have no idea what we're talking about, and the previous episode we mentioned that in between one of these episodes, and we can't figure out which one it was. Right. I think it was actually mine, which will be episode 3 coming up. There was an update. The DLC for Green Cities came out, and one of those updates meant that, and I think this was mostly because of the new roads editor. So the way roads work changed slightly, and all these massaging that Jay is doing here with the roads and some of the work that Flux did in previous episodes got a little bit messed up. The I don't know. I don't know if it's like the anarchy aspect of it, you know, like being able to tweak these junctions and turn them and having them merge in much more graceful ways is a little bit more difficult now. But so yeah, so far it seems like that isn't an issue. So maybe the update came out on the next one.
Right. I think the big thing is well, for one, I think it's the ground junctions that got the most tweaking, but also I think it's just the way that the junction forms, you know, like whenever you have two roads connecting together, and like the way that it kind of tries to create like a, you know, a junction, like a reasonable junction. It seems like, especially on the ground now, when you try and get those sharp angles, it's much more likely to just kind of break and create like weird glitchy ground and stuff. So a lot of these sharp junctions that we had created in the past are now just kind of like broken versions of junctions and stuff like that. So not really sure what they did to that, to be honest. I haven't really figured it out yet, but I kind of actually, I think that I've found some ways around that. And I'll talk about it more in my future episodes when we look more into the highways and tweaking some more. But there's definitely a couple methods that I found that are like by far the best way to go about just creating interchanges in general with this new update, I think, to make smooth junctions every single time and not have to worry about that too much. So we'll get to that later on, I guess. But
nice.
Yeah.
So this corner, I believe you've redone it since I made it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That happens later on. But honestly, I didn't deviate from your design too much. So what you're seeing here on the screen is basically, for the most part, kind of the general layout of how these highways are going to go. And of course, all the terminals stay in the same spot. So that's kind of fair. It's all going to be the same.
So it did. Yeah, it was a little bit, and I was, I came back to this and I did this like. So this is actually my second full attempt at this. I had an awesome day where I did everything and then it crashed in this corner. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. But I'm trying here, so I kind of like, it looks like I know what I'm doing, at least briefly, until I try crap like this thing.
We should probably start keeping track of how much time we actually waste doing things that, for one reason or another, they get lost. I have quite a bit of those.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
like going to be equivalent to hours that actually end up in the build.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I feel I've put in so many hours in this game, and I still think I don't save enough. Like I still lose things all the time. I don't know. It's kind of part of the game, I guess. But yeah. But I did think that your design was really interesting for this. You can certainly tell it's inspired by JFK.
Or JFK, yeah. I was gonna say, I was looking at terminals that were particularly just like planned a little too close together, or like some airline thought they were real smart and could extend the terminal down a little farther, but really just completely hosed the traffic.
Right. That was something we talked about actually. It was really challenging with the way that the terminals are laid out. Like it's the one just immediately to the left of the international when you're coming in, and then the one in the furthest in the back are just so close together that it's really, really hard to have incoming traffic have a direct route to that closer terminal, and traffic coming from the further terminal into the closer terminal, and not have weird intersections where the junction is like super dangerous and they have to like cross 3 lanes of traffic to get over to the exit again. It's really hard to make that work. Like I'm curious. Actually, I haven't seen this footage yet, so I'm curious to see how you handle that, because it was difficult. For sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the quick remark. It is actually pretty interesting. I'm watching this for the first time, even though I've already seen the final result, and this is totally not how a picture you build this. Like, I really don't know what I was thinking, but this is definitely not how I was picturing it in my mind.
Well, you changed a lot of stuff for sure, because
lots different.
You have some sunken highway here, or that's elevated highway that gets changed a little bit later on as well.
Yeah. So looking at some of this, I was really trying to make it so that you wouldn't have to drive through the pickup and drop-off zone of another terminal to get to one further on, or like once you were leaving, you wouldn't have to go back through.
Right.
So I ended up, and I'm just like looking at this, I'm like, there are so many roads.
Oh my
that
God.
you have to have for that. And get traffic in and out in like short lengths of road, and
they look like they don't make any sense, but they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's like every highway or every airport infrastructure, though. They just get a little chaotic. And I did notice that when I was going back and tweaking a few of these, is that you're very particular about making sure that when you enter the airport, there's always a direct route to every terminal without having to go through some other terminal to get there. So that was, and I do appreciate that. I think that's pretty common in most places. You don't want to have any extra through traffic in the pickup drop off, because that's already going to be really chaotic and kind of a bottleneck. So
I think only one terminal actually has like a pickup drop-off area that's the same level on the same road, where it's just like everybody arrivals, departures ends up on the same street.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about terminals, here they go.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect timing. These are, as we said in the last one, almost all of the assets we're using so far are made by Vasimir 22. And these are his. Actually, it's pretty funny. I'm basing this, like, mostly my stuff is a lot based off of Newark and a lot based off of JFK and a little off Newark. But then these are the LaGuardia terminal buildings, actually.
Right.
So we're kind of completing the New York City inspiration trifecta here.
Yeah.
But it ends up working really well. Like, getting this big arced angle and arced terminal building fits really well for that loop, which the second that I saw, like, SFO, I'm like, we need to have this because that's such a cool, like, visual feature looking from top down.
Mm-hmm.
So having this, like, really smooth and large building here it makes that big giant loop kind of worth it and look right.
Right, and you like I'm impressed. You eyeballed that very well. Like the shape of your arc was almost exactly the shape of or at least the size of the shape anyway. It was almost spot on. That's impressive.
I'm looking back at that right now. I don't remember doing that. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, it's good that worked out because
got
you did the other part of the interchange before you even put that in. So if that was the wrong size, you would have been in trouble.
Little host. Yeah.
One thing that we kind of aim for in general is to have a build that, so when you look at this from above, after all this work that Jay is doing right now plus the work that Flux did, it just looks like really organic but also makes sense. Like, it's realistic but not super symmetric. There is some like imperfections that make it look a little bit more closer to what airports look like in real life. Yeah, even the runway work that I want to be doing in later episodes, it tries to sort of follow that pattern a little bit. So it's not like, like, oh, you have a video game, so you just make everything like parallel and symmetric and everything. I don't know. Having some imperfections, some, not 45-degree angles, like, makes it that much nicer.
Right.
Yeah. So you just saw my game crashed, and now I'm quickly redoing some of this stuff.
It's a bummer.
I really didn't notice that your game crashed there.
You did notice?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really?
Probably because of the quality of the stream that we're looking at right now, that it stops every couple of seconds.
Watching a screen share over Discord and Skype.
If you'd like to pause that, you can actually see the thread context error or whatever.
Oh, I will rewatch this video. Don't worry. Okay. But yeah, we're having our voice via Discord and our video via Skype, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah. It could be worse though. It's working out pretty well.
But yeah. Sorry, so one change I was going to say in between these is I was talking to you guys about getting these terminals to work from the second deck.
Right.
So you see, it becomes a lot more important. The first one was just like close, and I think I'd even left it elevated road without changing it to the ground road that you need to have people get on and off. So that was like really exciting because basically, as we've been doing this, every once in a while I'll get a message over Discord or something, and it's like, oh my God, it works. Like, I got this working. I'm like, what? It's crazy. And just the way that things are changed itself, it's like, guess what I just managed? Like, all the runways are used equally, or like people are entering and exiting from the upper decks, and it's just like,
yes, there's several of those breakthrough kind of thing, quote unquote breakthroughs throughout this series. We've discovered so many different techniques of doing so many cool things that you're really gonna like them.
Right.
We're just getting started even.
We should talk about, or we should just mention this real quick. For those who don't know what we're talking about, you can see his upper deck is also like grounded. What is it? Like fine road tools lets you do that, I think, or something.
Yeah, lets you put still ground road even though it's up high.
Right. So you just move it, or actually you just create the road elevated using an elevated road, and then you upgrade it to a forced ground road. And if it's directly above a different road and also clipping into a building a little bit, then it won't try and create any terrain underneath it. It'll just kind of look a little glitchy. And then if you use some props and stuff, you can kind of hide it. So we did that initially in the international terminal, and that's how we got that to work, and we kind of tested it, and honestly that was probably one of the bigger breakthroughs. We were like, oh my God, like we can actually get use out of the upper and lower kind of highways, because beforehand what everyone would do is just have like the upper loop would basically just not even connect to the building, so you would just have like through traffic going through there. But now we can have like bus stops on the lower, or bus stops on both, and then have like lowers be arrival and uppers be departure, or whatever we decide to do. But Yeah.
I just love that little notch you did to that circular, semicircular
me too.
terminal. Like you almost if you're using Play-Doh for the freeways, you just stretch them onto the side. That looked amazing.
Yeah, I was very lucky the game didn't totally crash there because I've tried to do that in Gramercy before. Just like, let's just move this intersection. Oh,
It's interesting
Yes,
because you really can't extend a segment of road after a certain amount. I
Right.
try that with the runways, and in the next episode you'll see that, and it totally
Oh, yeah.
glitches out
It
badly.
breaks.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the roads are not meant to be longer than like I think 10 units in segment, and you'll notice if you get to like 15, 20 plus when you're stretching with Move It, then they'll start to despawn while you're in camera view. Because I think once one of the nodes is not visible, then it'll try to despawn the other one after like maybe 10 units or so. So you can like move the camera far enough that like just the end of it is visible, and it'll just despawn it, and it'll be like, you know, blue background or whatever. It's kind of weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is actually, so we're recording all these commentaries a long time after we actually did this. So this is like 2 or 3 weeks old footage. So I'm rewatching this and I'm like, oh, interesting. That's how it was done, but without realizing that I was the one that built it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun for me, I guess, watching this all take shape again. To be like, oh, that's right, that changed.
Right.
But
We're actually not that far ahead in terms of recording
Yeah, you really
commentary.
aren't.
I think so far, we have up to episode 4, and I think you start episode 5 tomorrow, right?
yes.
And
Today or tomorrow, depends.
yeah,
on how
and
much
we're
time I can
like
get.
in mid-November 2017, so you're probably realistically watching this at some point in early 2018, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be impressed if we got this out before New
Yeah.
Year's. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
'Cause, like we said in the first episode, this has been an ongoing thing for quite some time. And if there's anything that we've learned from doing collaborations, I think at least I think Certos would agree with me. It's that, you know, prepping and pre-recording and doing everything kind of systematically is definitely the way to go. Because if you just try and, you know, get the first episode done and it's like, oh sweet, we're ready to go, you know, upload the first episode, it's tough to make sure everything else gets done correctly, and there's always going to be conflict issues, and, you know, everyone getting together at the same time to record the episodes and stuff. It's kind of a challenging thing to do, so it's good to have a plan ahead of time and get a little ahead, and, you know, all that stuff.
I mean, even when we started this, Jay, you were at a totally different time zone, like several time zones
That's
away.
true.
So now it's significantly easier.
Yeah.
In the process of us planning this, I've moved from New York to California to New York to California.
Yeah, he's
And
moved
I've
twice.
lived in
But you
4
seem to do that every month anyway, so
Yeah.
that's not really shocking anymore.
But
That's true.
It's been a little crazy. You could see, like, all of a sudden you're going to start watching. I'm going to take less and less from JFK and more from San Francisco and Oakland. And
Yeah.
Not San Jose?
well, I don't know. San Jose, I tried to, but San Jose is just so simple. There's actually one terminal, I'll point it out, but has a San Jose style pickup drop off. The rest are all a little bigger.
So is your local airport SFO now, Jay? Is that like where you would go to fly in
I
and
guess.
out?
So it's closer to my parents' house is closer
Okay.
to San Jose, but where I'm staying right now is actually in San Francisco proper. So SFO is a little closer.
Do you fly out of SFO whenever you fly?
I usually do. So when I was going back and forth to New York a lot, I'd aim for SFO just because that has direct flights on
Right,
the airlines
definitely.
that I have status on. So
Oh,
I
sweet.
end up, just flying back and forth for college on big, long transcontinental flights builds up your miles pretty quickly.
Oh, I bet it does.
So I end up just like preferring, because I can either go and stop through like Dallas or Chicago and go to San Jose, or
Mhm.
just go straight to SFO. So I'm like, it's an easy choice.
Yeah, I haven't
Or
gotten
you
to
can
go to
take the
SFO
train
before.
like you did once.
Or I took the train like I did once, which is a lot of fun. But that's definitely the slow option.
That
But
will
the
be
cool option.
the next project. Some
Yeah.
like massively long
The
train
entire
track.
country with
Exactly.
a single train track right through the middle.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry?
No, I was just gonna say that. I mean, you can see how. I mean, you put like so many hours into this episode, and it looks like the progress that we're making is like very, very slow, and it's a huge project. I mean, you maybe can't really grasp the immensity of or at least the footprint that we're trying to
Oh my god,
cover
the
here.
footprint's huge.
Yeah.
I think that surprised even me, because so the next episode you do the runways and taxiways.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And like when I got the save back, I think you'd actually meant to send it to Flux, but I downloaded it, just like, what's it look like? And I'd open up like, this is a completely different thing than I left it.
Yeah.
Is because all of a sudden, like, actually, it turns out that other airports, just what you used to see in this game, is like, this is a realistic big airport. It just like actually,
the scale is
you
just,
know.
Yeah,
What's
that's the thing.
the-
Is
what's the
it's
size,
it's not
Fox?
even.
You said off camera. You said the size. Like, how many tiles are we occupying right now?
Right. That's what I was getting to. It's like, it's just absurd how large this is, and when you see the cinematics, it might become apparent. Probably not really as much until episode 3 when we get to see Strict Toaster's runways and stuff. But I think it's spanned larger than a 2x2 grid of, like, you know, areas. So approaching 3x3, which is like, you know, that's a good 1/3 of the map, is it not? What's the total tile count? It's like 81 or something. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yes.
it's not really actually a full map.
Yeah,
But
25
still,
is
yeah.
like the default, right?
It's the default, like, scale. Yeah. So it's
Well, 9's the default. So this would be
Oh,
an
yeah.
entire vanilla map.
yeah, I guess you're right. Well, it would span just about an entire vanilla map of all
Yeah.
unlockables. But that's what we were talking about, right? Like, it's not. You know, the thing that's weird about this particular build, it's interesting about this particular build, is that since we have the setup where we didn't have to actually develop any sort of, you know, city or any other sort of things around this build, we can afford to just take up as much space as possible to make an actual, you know, 1-to-1 scale airport. Whereas, I mean, if you had really any other sort of city or thing in this map, it would just be totally dwarfed by this airport. Like, it would be very hard to make a realistic airport build and also have other stuff in the map. Like, it just doesn't really happen. It has to be its own build. So
I was very excited because kept thinking before we started this, I'm like, oh man, when the Gramercy Airport gets made, like, I'm gonna do that, like, 1-to-1 scale. It's gonna be very realistic.
Yeah.
And then the second I noticed, I'm like, I'm gonna have to rethink that. Like,
yeah, it's so
I just don't have the space and don't want to show a city that's completely dwarfed by
an airport,
a big airport. But
yeah, for sure.
anyway, so you can see here I actually go, and my original terminal plan didn't even stay. So I kind of, in the rechanging and moving things around, I'm like, wait a minute, I can squeeze another terminal in here. So I guess kind of like how they'd actually probably build an airport, especially one like JFK. They're just like, well, guess we can fit one in. Let's do it. And just
Actually,
cram.
talking about terminals, there's still an ongoing discussion to which airline is going to take which terminal.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Because in case you didn't notice, like, the intro of this series has some, like, very particular airlines that are serving this airport, as you know, as well as others. But obviously, there's going to be some hubs, and there's a bit of a off-camera fight to see which one gets the coolest terminal
Yeah.
for their airline.
We still haven't really determined that, have we? Because
No,
we got to
we
figure
have
out, you know, which hub is going to be for which airline and what terminal and all that good stuff. I don't know.
Actually,
Yeah.
speaking of I believe, unless I end up getting extremely lazy, but those 3 Planes Pack editions, so the Strict Austera one, which is already out, and then the Flux Transport and Jet BSQ, should already be public.
Oh,
Like, at
sweet.
least with our current thought is those 3 get made public as we announce and launch this. So that should have been weeks ago for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Right.
talking about future things that are long in the past for you guys.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
So yeah,
That
it's
is
a little
crazy.
confusing.
That's so funny that when we started this project, I think we were all kind of imagining, like, oh, single build, all right, you know, 6 episodes max, yeah, we'll be good.
Yeah,
We got it. it's
Not even
it's so
close.
much to do. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're not even sure how long this will take. I mean,
Yeah.
now we're like, I think the last time we talked, we were kind of aiming for 9 episodes. I don't think that's realistic anymore.
yeah.
I don't think anymore. I think it's just grown too much.
So,
Yeah, once
you're
we
gonna
saw
have FSB for a while.
Yeah, once we saw Strict
FBS.
Toasters work on the once we saw Strict Toasters work on the runways, that was like a reality check for me. I was like, oh, we got a lot of work to do.
Oh, I noticed on your first episode, you're like, oh, I spent like 20 hours on this one tiny terminal that I haven't even detailed or anything. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's
Yeah.
fun though.
Oh, it's really fun. That's
It's
what
a-
we've been talking about. Is I think it's just really cool to put in the time to do something like this. You know, like I don't think that this happens very often. Like it, especially even in our own projects. You know, like none of us are going to spend this much time on a single airport. It's just not realistic when you have so many other things to do. So the fact that we're just kind of, you know, setting ourselves a goal of like we're going to make just an airport and we're going to spend time on it and we're going to plan it ahead of time and we're going to get a bunch of references and we're going to get a bunch of assets made. I think that makes it a little more rewarding whenever it starts coming together.
You guys get assets made. I have to make the assets.
That's true. That's true.
Well, I mean, this is why it's a good collab, because I mean, I'm not a huge fan of doing like freeway stuff and all that. In case you didn't notice, from my channel, you've barely seen those. But I love doing airport stuff like the runways and all that, which is why I'm third in this schedule. Is before I lay down anything at all, I needed to have sort of the infrastructure that supports airplanes coming in and out. Right. But this is definitely what Flux said about, if only one of us was doing this, we probably got burned out like pretty easily.
Oh, definitely.
But doing this as a collab, it's definitely much more efficient.
Right. And like, I think you nailed it with the, us all having different preferences on things we like to do, because I'm so glad that you decided to do the runways, because that's really not my thing at all. I'm totally willing to spend however long using prop line tool on elevated roads over making runways.
Oh, I mean, if you like using prop line tool, you can add some lights to the runway. You'll be my guest.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We got a couple more hours of that probably.
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually do hit the prop limit after.
Yeah.
I mean, even before we're done on this one, because there's going to be quite a bit. I hope not too. And there's some workarounds, but I'd rather not, resort to them.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we'll hit the prop limit or not. I mean, what is it, like 65,000 or something?
Yes, it is.
I don't know. I don't know what you guys have been doing, but I've tried to be kind of conscious of how I use props, like, using for certain, like, for example, the international terminal, when we needed to eventually start going in and adding props that kind of support the roads and all those things like that. I tried to use like larger objects that wouldn't really contribute too much to the limit, but I would imagine that that's not going to really be the part that adds up. I bet it's going to be all the decals and all the little props around the airplanes and everything like that.
I mean, the plane stands on their own are going to have a ton of props. The runways themselves are going to have a lot of props too. I mean, I don't know. We might be right on the edge. So
yeah, we might have to just layer it. Like have like kind of layers of detail coming in. Like, all right, we'll start with the basics everywhere. Everything's covered, and then all right, now we start adding some of the details. The vehicles and things we want to add, and go from there or something. I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of handle that.
So what is this terminal, Jay? The one that you were just working on, the one that has a satellite?
So that
concourse.
That satellite concourse and that terminal, which I think we chose as Terminal 4, just a pretty simple numbering, is kind of one just to be a little bit different. So it's inspired by a terminal I fly in a lot, and if you can like recognize these, you probably can tell like what airlines I fly in on, and kind of where I fly. But that one's the American Airlines terminal at JFK, Terminal 8, and I've spent a lot of time waiting there. But it's kind of unique just because it's so different from the rest, and the way it would work in real life, and the way I think we're going to set it up in FBS is that you'd take an underground pathway or a people mover like train or something underneath to connect. So I know like the new British Airways terminal in London is like that, where you have to take the little shuttle train back and forth. But I just honestly I picked it because it was a unique sort of design.
Would that be one of the oldest ones?
I don't think so.
Because the reason why I'm asking is because when we were planning this, we were very specifically wanting to have like different age for some of the terminals. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So kind of in conjunction with my like JFK inspiration, I really wanted to have a lot of different terminal designs, each kind of maybe since they were built at all different times, they'd all be sort of different. So I'd say that Terminal 4, the one with this satellite, is actually probably one of the more recent ones. Maybe not necessarily the newest, but it has that large entry hall with those very pink and orange buildings. So I think they're getting fixed soon. But I really liked the way that the variety of buildings. So this terminal I'm working on now has kind of a less modern entry-exit structure. It's based off of I think Terminal B at San Jose Airport, and yeah, it's very dense in the back like that. But the way it would work is that the baggage claims and everything would be in this central hall. So people that were leaving would go out and over and then down, and the departures or arrivals would be on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so they'd be in that central little island instead. I think the oldest building.
You're treating those buildings as decals right now, basically.
Really
yeah, no, it's really kind of dense, and using those as like space fillers to make it look more interesting.
Oh yeah.
But I'd say that Terminal 3, actually, there's one that just doesn't really have like a separated arrivals departures. So my thought would probably be that would be the oldest, just in that it's not as high capacity, which you don't really need. So yeah, I did try to kind of incorporate that into the terminal buildings here, just tweaking some roads for better slopes and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, but I tried to make it all kind of each one unique.
Right, so a split kind of thing at the entrance.
Yeah. So I did do that just for a fast part. All right, and wow, actually we're very late already into some cinematics. It's yikes.
Right.
All right.
It's also,
this is the.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, the delay is just killing us all today.
Yeah,
but
it really is.
I was just going to point out that another, one of these frustrations every time we start working on any episode of Cities is that we totally forget to change the texture of the roads. So, these are not the roads that you're looking for.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll change
No,
that later.
I only remember to do it like half the time, maybe tops. It's really bad. I do it in Gramercy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like this checklist of like 10 things you gotta get. Yeah, exactly. Like 10 things, I'd be like roads, everything, like the right collections, the right assets. God, it's very long. But anyway, this kind of snuck up on us, but here's the end of the episode. So the next episode is, in fact, going to be up on Strict Toaster's channel starting next week.
Yeah.
And then it'll cycle back to Flux Trans and then me again in a few weeks. So subscribe for the next stuff that I'm going to post here. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.